Well, thank you, as always. It's very, awakening, these teachings. And I feel very inspired by this, what you mentioned about Zorba, as being a total failure, but still dancing. And I feel just like the ego is a total failure. And it's always self-sabotaging, and it thinks it's going to do good, and then it does bad, or that's how it judges itself, and etc.
So I didn't tell you anything you didn't already know.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay.
I guess the question is there's moments where I feel there's dancing happening, and there's that letting go. But then always there are these insane, stupid doubts that come up about the smallest things, about sleep, about schedules, about meeting people, about things that I know that there's nothing to worry about.
That's also a dance. See this? There's a Rudra Tandava and an Ananda Tandava. You go from one to the other, but so far you prefer the Rudra Tandava. That's the question. Why do you want that kind of a dance? Right? Tango might be a lot nicer, or waltz, or, but the dance you're doing is pretty chaotic and probably self-sabotaging, right? Painful. Why should your dance be painful? Well, are you a masochist?
Yes.
Why would you prefer pain to joy?
I mean, I think at a deeper level, it's an attachment to the character. Yeah. It feels like there's something inside that's so irresistible to hold on to. That, like,
hatred, the blood of your enemy that you're chewing on?
It's definitely hatred. That's part of it. Self-hatred.
Yeah.
And
who do you think you're getting even with?
Probably comes down to the parents still.
Yeah, it is, but you're really just hurting yourself. You're not hurting them, right? So it's self-hatred, right? And that means hatred of God, who is yourself, right? How are you going to get out of prison if you hate the one who's got the key? Yeah. That
resonated a lot in what you spoke about today. This hatred of the one who's dreaming me, because there's, and immediately there of trying to think, who is it? There's an impasse, or a sense of an impasse, and a not, almost a rejection of willing to explore further, right, at that moment.
That's right.
It's like, no, I don't trust, or I don't accept, or I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it.
I'm not going to take responsibility for my life. Not going to grow up. Going to blame mommy and daddy and demand that they save me even though I know they won't, right? And that's why I hate them.
I think probably at a deeper level there is that yearning in the ego to be saved, indeed, because that feels more righteous to the ego than taking responsibility myself.
Yeah, sure. But the problem is the ego wants to be saved and still be the ego. It wants to be a saved ego, not saved from the ego. So until it's the soul wanting to be saved from the ego, nothing's going to change. That distinction has to be made by your Buddhi and made very clear.
I think that was part of the question as well, is like, again, there are these moments of dancing, but how to make that cut clear and to stop this going back and forth, because it is agony. And the more that there is a sense of like, okay, I'm able to dance, the more agonizing it is when I'm putting myself in these situations. So it's the Buddhi that just needs to strengthen.
No, it's only going to get the strength of will from the self, the real self. It doesn't have it. And that will require its surrender in love. It will have to give up its hatred if it wants to get the strength to give up its hatred. You see the catch-22 that you're in? That's the impossibility of it. But it's also the hilarious aspect of the fact that you are the one who has created this divided mind that can't reach itself. This is your joke on yourself.
Sometimes it's funny, but not always.
Yeah. But it's always funny to the one who's playing the joke. Yeah. Both sides are funny. Yeah.
It's funny now.
Okay, if you can keep laughing at both sides, there's no tragedy. And if there's no tragedy, there's no jouissance.
Because that's the fallback, is then if I'm going to hold on to this hatred, at least I have the, even if it's not the real jouissance, it's the yearning for jouissance playing in the mind that's enjoyable.
Oh yeah, it's enjoyable because you feel the lack of it and hate yourself for not having what you want. And so you're still chewing on your self-hatred. That's what you're feeding on, you see? That's your fuel. That's the fuel of every ego. Because it hates itself for needing the gaze of the other or needing to have the other as an object or whatever. It's a dependent being, and it has all these security needs and all of these dependencies at different levels that it can never feel free. Right? It's already been bought and sold too many times. Until you get out of the character, you have no character. Because the virtue of your real self is not in that character, but it can be given to that character to give it the willpower to change its character. If that makes sense.
I'll have to think or not think about it more. But
You have to be the real. There's no point in just thinking.
Will it ever be bearable to let go unbearably? Because it feels unbearable to the ego to let go.
I know.
Unbearable.
So what you're saying is that you're going to demand karma to make your ego life unbearable so that you have no choice but to choose freedom. That's what the world has decided. That's why it's getting more and more chaotic and self-destructive. So and insane, outrageously irrational, right? To the point where it's obviously not real, right? At every level of the fractal, its absurdity is in your face. But do you see the absurdity of the character you're trying to pretend is still real? Yeah. That's insanity. That's clinging to a delusion. And you're too intelligent to do that to yourself.
It becomes very clear when we speak together like this. It's clear in general, but that makes it so insane as well, is that oftentimes it just feels very clear, but somehow the capacity is lacking, or there's that belief.
The will is lacking because there's no surrender. So, you have to, but you don't. That's what you have to reflect upon. Why is the heart closed and not open? Because when you open your heart to that love trance that you are in as Lakshmi, it's because that's you also, your real self, it's bliss.
And it's no effort to open the heart.
No, the effort is keeping it closed and staying in the unbearable. That's caused by the very closure. That's trying to defend you against the unbearable, and by that is creating it as an internal state. Voila.
I'm going to reflect on that. Thank you.
You are free now. That's the thing you need to know. You're already free. This is just a game being played by a fictional being because it's Shiva's jouissance.
It's good to know that I'm Shiva at the deep level in that case.
Yeah, that's what Shivoham means. Right?
Ajita jouissance at that level then.
At that level, because jouissance is Ananda. Right? Don't settle for a jouissance that is not Ananda, because it's just a derivative of Ananda, but a denser derivative that brings suffering, because it's light and shadow, not just the pure light. Right?